Welcome to Sleepless in St. Canard, where nostalgia replaces REM cycles. I'm Kitty.
And I'm Ange.
And we haven't slept
in 1,000 years.
This is a podcast about the 90s classic cartoon Darkwing Duck, where pizza toppings are currency of choice, where sailorless boats drop a giant net of anchovies on a dock for bats, and where board members are actually fungi. That's right, ghosts, ghouls, and non-binary friends. Today we get super sus with Fungus Amongus.
Non-binary, I like that.
Non-binary, yes. So here we are. We are finally getting a crack at our ghoulish girlfriend, Morgana Macawber.
Heck yeah. Have some announcements.
Announcements! Go!
Yeah. Okay.
Hear ye, hear ye.
First off, I wanted to give a shout out to the St. Canard Files because they haven't yet, as of recording this, but by the time this episode drops, they will have covered all 91 episodes of Darkwing Duck.
Wow.
That is hardcore. I think they have 100 episodes at this point total because they've done extra non-episode related stuff. That's
bravo.
Yeah, like bravo. Like that is dedication because I don't know how they release every Monday and there's 91 episodes. So that would have taken what, a year or two?
Yeah, basically about 2 years. Maybe a little shy of 2 years.
Yeah, so congratulations to the St. Canard Files, and also a thank you because they had a contest a few months back on. They do a few different contests for the different areas where they post their podcasts. They post it on YouTube and Reddit, and I entered, I think, the Facebook one, and they did a draw, and I won a Megavolt Funko Pop.
Oh, very nice.
And he arrived in the mail last month. And it was very exciting because I have all the other Darkwing Duck Funko Pops, and Megavolt was the only one that was missing. So I was like, oh, this is good.
Your collection is complete.
It is, except for not counting like those small mini ones that have like Ghana and are $1 million on eBay.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations to the St. Canard Files and to you, Ange, for winning a Megavolt.
He is the greatest gift one could have.
I've heard.
Also, for those of you who have not checked it out, the newest Disney cartoon that has dropped is The Ghost and Molly McGee, which is on Disney Plus in America, and Disney Now, and Disney Channel, and one episode is on iTunes Canada for some reason, but not the other episodes. You should totally check it out.
You should, because, I heard somebody pretty cool worked on that show.
Some amazing
And that, of course, be my co-host, Ange, worked on that show.
I was going to say Sam King, but...
Oh, well, Sam King, too, but mostly you.
Yes, I did some work on the first season of The Ghost of Molly McGee as a builds person, meaning that I got to draw characters and props and then rig and program them so that the animators can make the magic happen.
So you're saying this cartoon is rigged?
Yes.
You rigged it.
Yes, indeed.
Wonderful.
And there's only 5 episodes out right now as of us recording this, but I worked on The Best Concert Ever and Not So Honest Abe are the first 2 that I worked on. So I am super stoked. Spoiler alert, I did a pizza box and I did the pizza dough. So, and all kinds of other stuff.
My God.
Those were my favorite.
We'll just have to strike that from the podcast. It gives away too much. Yes, super awesome. Super incredible. But I'm also, as I've told you for years, not very surprised that you do amazing things because you're awesome.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're awesomer.
You got me there. No. Yes. Everyone check out The Ghost of Molly McGee. Keep an eye out for a VIP card and a pizza box and the dough. There you go.
All right. So we want to start on this episode. Do you have an amazing summary from Disney Plus for us?
I do. So if you would like to watch along with us, it is Disney Plus Season 1, Episode 67. And the description is Darkwing Duck investigates thefts of pizza toppings.
Short, simple, technically accurate.
It is technically accurate. And that's all Disney Plus has to say for us as we just dive right into the action in this episode. There really isn't a lot of downtime here.
I had the German title too, because I watched.
Oh, please!
Once again, I got to watch an episode that was originally German, and they put English audio over top. So the title was, let's see if I can pronounce this: Pilze, Pizza, and Parfum, which translates to mushrooms, pizza, and perfume.
That sounds like a fragrance by Calvin Klein.
I don't know where the perfume comes in this case, but perfume, pizza perfume? I don't know.
Perfume. Yeah, I don't remember any perfume in this. I guess just because she's a lady.
That was my thought
ladies
process.
Wear perfume.
Like, I guess it's implying that it's mushrooms and pizza and something romantic and beautiful because of perfume.
I think Launchpad does say that the mushrooms smell like pizza.
They do.
So maybe it's purely sticking to the pizza thing. But I feel...
what kind of perfume would Morgana wear?
I would want to say that it's called something like Dreary, and it probably smells like a tomb, but with like sickly, sweet, rotting flower aftertones.
I was going to say graveyard, so that's kind of close. Or
well, it's a little crisper, I think.
Yeah, or like, something musty, like being trapped in a coffin and then accidentally being buried underground, whatever that smells like.
So, dirt and panic. So your fragrance is Buried Alive by Calvin Klein. It's on the shelf next to the pizza one. And English Feather, or whatever Beak Puss wears. We're slowly fleshing out the Duckverse with random things they can buy at the Duckverse equivalent of Walmart.
Speaking of, did you notice that there were a couple ads?
No, I did not notice any ads. What ads? There was one. It was like a swan something.
Yes.
I don't remember what it is, though, so tell me about it.
There was two. There was a billboard ad for duck soup.
Yeah. Yes.
And then there was a billboard ad for swan sauces.
Oh.
Are they made of ducks and swans, or are they sauces for them to eat?
Duck soup is people. I don't know. Yeah, because I saw swan sauces. I think it's pretty early on, and I was like, what is that about?
I know.
And then I didn't want to think about it too long, because I was like, I don't like any of these implications.
I noticed that the backgrounds in this episode in particular are not the usual ones that you see in a lot of other episodes. Like, there was a lot of unique, I don't know, like when I've watched other episodes of Darkwing, St. Canard is pretty consistent with its backgrounds, and I think they reuse them sometimes. But this one had some buildings and styles that I've never seen them before in any other episodes. Like, there was one part where they're driving through the city and they came across what almost looked like Times Square in New York City. There was like a triangle type building.
Yeah, I actually have notes on that too, because it's really pretty. It's like lit in like bright neon colors. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, that's really pretty. So it seems like they kind of let their background artists have some fun this episode. And then, of course, we get to do all the fun things in Morgana's house and Morgana's house itself. Mm-hmm. There's a whole MC Escher room because, of course. And just like her house itself, there's a few things about her house that confuse me, but we'll get there. So the beginning of this episode just really plops us right in with Darkwing and Launchpad already hot on the heels of some dastardly thefts. But before we get to them, we see two spooky wolf dog hound things slow motion running through the sky. Yes. It's like, okay.
They look like Great Danes.
Yeah, they do. I was like, I don't really know what they are, but they're definitely supposed to be some kind of canine thing. But I could see Great Danes for sure. Darkwing is immediately voicing how perplexed he is with this case.
Although I gotta admit, this case has me more baffled than our phone bill.
Mood.
Yeah, big mood. And then he goes on to talk about the things that have already happened So iguanas stealing olives, black cats running off with onions. The whole city's turned weird.
Don't those cats know that onions are toxic? They should not eat onions.
Really?
Yeah, they're horribly toxic. Don't let your cats or dogs eat onions, people.
That's your PSA for today.
My only note for this was ghost dogs. I think that's better than ghost cats that don't knock things over every 2 seconds and just make noise when you're trying to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know I guess they were black cats, so they weren't ghost cats. But yeah, ghost cats, they are a bit of a menace, especially when you're trying to sleep and you feel them walking on you, or you hear something down the hall and you're like, damn it, cats, and then you realize that your cat is with you and you're like, damn it, other cat. But yes, so apparently the black cats were just after the onions. I kind of wonder how they decided what creatures were going to steal what. And I'm also very amused by the mental image of iguanas stealing olives. They're not particularly fast creatures, as far as I know. Every time I've seen an iguana, they've just kind of been chilling. So that might have been a slow-mo heist, like our slow-mo wolf dog hound things. Our Great Danes. Our ghost Danes. Ooh. So as we were saying before, this is another episode that has very good animation. The backdrops are really pretty. And it's actually like right in the beginning, the part that we were talking about where it comes to a place where it's kind of like Times Square. And he just kind of stops the rat catcher to watch ghost dogs float by. But the background is really very pretty. It's colorfully lighted. We do recommend a pretty sizable pause to appreciate it.
Good job, Disney Australia. Good job.
You done did it. You did it well.
They did a good job. This is, I would have to say, of all the episodes with Morgana, this one is probably my favorite animation-wise. Character model-wise, it probably has the tightest, most accurate to the models.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a lot of, especially, I want to say my Valentine ghoul, like Morgana gets a little squishy and stretchy in places, but she's pretty on point in this one. Mm-hmm. So as he's chasing the Great Dane ghost, he stops at a traffic light because, of course, he does. He's a man of the law right there. And I think as far as this episode goes, I've watched it so many times and I love so much about it, but for me, it just adds an extra layer of just how uncomfortable Launchpad is through this entire episode. So funny to me.
Yeah, Launchpad is just, he wants to go home because they're seeing ghost dogs, and he's just like, I'd be just happy if we pretend this never happened.
He's like, I'm all about, stopping crime, but this one, can we just go home? So it's like they stop and they kind of lose the trail of these ghost dogs, and he's pretty happy about it. Until, of course, there's just a giant swarm of bats moving through the town to get anchovies.
As is tradition.
Yes. And you and I disagree on this, but the bats can keep the anchovies.
Oh, you mean like as in they can keep them because they're gross?
Yes.
Yes, I disagree. My favorite pizza toppings, my absolute favorite pizza that I like to order is pineapple, bacon, and anchovy. It is so good. Every time I tell people that, they're horrified. And when I've ordered pizza with other people, they're like, please don't let your part of the pizza touch my part of the pizza. It's disgusting.
I can get it, though. I don't like anchovies, but they're super salty.
Yeah.
And the pineapple is sweet.
Yes, exactly.
And the bacon has a little bit of sweet saltiness to it, so it pulls it all together. I'm not super opposed to it. I would probably pick the anchovies off, but I'd give it a shot. Yeah, I'm also a monster and like pineapple on my pizza too. So come at us, unfollow us. You know what? It's delicious. Okay, guys? Salty and sweet. All right? All right. So I wonder. So all right. So this episode's going to 3 hours long. So what spooky creatures would be stealing pineapples?
Pineapples.
If Morgana was coming for them.
Are they like canned pineapples or whole pineapples?
You're the master of this. You're the master of your own destiny. You tell me.
I'm going to say it looks like they were collecting everything pretty fresh. because the anchovies were like straight from the bay.
Yeah, straight from the water.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to say it was probably like an actual whole pineapple. I don't know where they'd procure that from. I'm sure pineapples do not grow naturally in St. Canard unless they went to a grocery store, which is entirely possible. What animal would I send after them? I just want to say a rooster, only because our friend Nem was talking about roosters earlier today and picking them up when they're being aggressive,
angry,
weird, and angry.
Just shut up. I'm going to hold you like a baby. Get over it. They're just
gently,
so...
Like hamsters.
Angry, very confused and indignant hamburger. All right. So then we already know that the bats will be picking up the anchovies. And then the bacon. Let's see. Spooky creature that Morgana would send after it.
An axolotl.
Oh, the scariest creature of all. You know, that's not how you say it, and I can't remember how you say it. But that's apparently not at all close.
Axolotl?
No, it sounds nothing at all like it's spelled.
Interesting.
So I can't help you there. But I saw a girl on TikTok pronounce it how it's really supposed to be said. And I was like, well, okay. Oh, yeah. So we'll say that. We have the bats trying to steal a giant net full of anchovies fresh from the sea, but there's no sailors. There's nobody there. There's no one on the docks. So maybe it's just a ghost ship that steals anchovies and then delivers them to bats. But yeah, they're having a heck of a time trying to get it off the ground because they're little bat balls and they can't really get up the gumption to hoist it properly. But then Launchpad and Darkwing latch on to the net and they have no problem lugging all the anchovies plus Darkwing and Launchpad along with it. So maybe they just needed that motivation.
It would seem so.
Darkwing is very miffed by all of this and he says,
"Did I miss something? Where was the off-ramp that said the Twilight Zone?"
Oh, Darkwing. I like how they're in the air and they're trying to still get the anchovies to drop. They didn't seem to care that they would be plummeting to their doom as well. Whatever they did, they rocked back and forth and the anchovies were lost to the sea where they belong.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like they were trying to preserve the goods that were being stolen. They were just trying to thwart anything and everything, and apparently good business practices fell by the wayside as well.
Yeah, now that you mention it, they really didn't seem to care about actually protecting the stuff. It was just the ethics of stopping crime.
Yeah. Yes, it was very much, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. Stop doing that. I'm going to stop you from doing that, but not actually, protect the goods in any way. But hey, he's a vigilante. Leave the goody-goody two-shoes stuff to
Gizmo Duck.
Our darling Gizmo Duck, yes. So then after they get deposited back on Mother Earth from the bats, the ghost dogs are running past, but I thought they were sausage when they were running by. It's just like a few links of apparently pepperoni, and that was it. Like, as far as pepperoni content of St. Canard, there's only a few links of it. It's like, we've got a serious lack of pepperoni in St. Canard if there's only 5 strands of it. And Darkwing is very annoyed with everything and declares that there's...
Some fiendish food freak is filching pizza toppings. That's the connection.
So that's fun. And I feel like maybe this is more reflective of the time that the show was made, but it seems like they had very limited pizza toppings in this time, because he says that green peppers and mushrooms are the only 2 that haven't been hit yet, unless we only know a brief glimpse, because we know that no one was going after those pineapples because Ange would have sent roosters, and we didn't see any roosters.
It's true.
Because, nowadays you can get anything on pizza, literally anything.
Also, I think my favorite line from this part was,
"Why would bats want anchovies?"
Maybe they're worried about the cholesterol count.
That's no excuse for stealing. Let's grab them.
Grab? I gotta touch them?
He's just like, that's not it. Doesn't question.
Yeah, like he didn't even miss a beat. He just went with it.
It was like, nope, still wrong. Well, there you go. They split up, and Darkwing goes after the mushrooms, and that leads him to Macawber Mushrooms Unlimited. It's a very prestigious name, Unlimited. And it's here that we get introduced to Morgana's house. So is this considered Macawber Manor?
I think it looks like it, and I'm pretty sure they used some of the same layouts in other episodes, so I think it is her house, and it just moves around magically.
We get introduced to Morgana's stormy front lawn, and Darkwing gets inside, and there, of course, is the token painting where the eyes follow you around the room as he walks around. But Darkwing is too clever for that, and he's like, oh, like, I haven't seen this before, and rips it off the wall, and the eyes just stay there and then kind of float away.
They grow little bat wings.
It's kind of creepy. I mean, like, it's cute. It's fine. It's Darkwing Duck. But if that happened in real life, I would be right back out that door again.
It was a very clever gag because it was like a cliche that they made fun of.
Mm-hmm. And even the hallway that he goes into, he's just kind of wandering around trying to find someone. It has... this is right before he gets into the MC Escher room. It has wonky kind of architecture to it, so it's like nothing is kind of even. And then when he opens the door, it's, you know, the all endless staircases defying gravity that, you know, David Bowie and everybody hang out in the labyrinth. It was a very big print at that time, I guess. Everybody loved that labyrinth not David Bowie, MC Escher print. But it's my favorite part of that is Darkwing winds up in it, of course, and he just kind of opens and closes doors and in that room, and he just made some excellent, I can only refer to them as Darkwing noises because they're just like little grunts and things. It's great. And then as he gets out of it, he's like,
intriguing architecture. I must get the name of the designer so I can hurt him.
Oh, that was one of my favorite lines.
He's not a fan. And then he says, "A Darkwing Duck is the master of psychological warfare." And is he? Is he really? He thinks he is. But it just kind of reminded me of, this is just how my brain works. It reminded me of scene in the movie Small Soldiers. Do you remember that movie?
I do remember that movie.
Where it was like the little action figures that come alive, and they participate in psychological warfare where they just blast Wannabe by the Spice Girls at the family stuck in the house to drive them crazy. And I could see Darkwing being the master of that kind of psychological warfare. And that's my brain.
Just to back it up a bit, because I noticed something in my notes. I was actually surprised that Launchpad was the one to really quickly come to the conclusion that someone's stealing pizza toppings. But it's also food related, so I think if Launchpad was ever going to be right about something, of course it was going to be related to food.
Yeah, and I think as he figured it out too, he's like, I don't know why, but I want a pizza right now. And he's like, oh, that's it, pizza. It's all pizza toppings. So there you go. Launchpad's gut wins the day. And then Darkwing finds where everybody's hiding out, hanging out. And he starts off really strong. He starts off with the I am the terror. He loses steam really quick. He's like, I am the terror that flaps in the night. As there's just a whole bunch of creepy looking people sitting at a table, a really long conference room table in a super high ceilinged room. And they're all just sitting there staring at him.
I feel like some of his supervillains are creepier looking than those guys, though.
Yes, I guess. They're interesting. But there's like he kind of seems like the leader. He's the only one we don't get to know their name over the course of the episode. Mm-hmm. But he looks like Lurch from the Addams Family. And as he was, he starts talking. I was like, he sounds exactly like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. And it is. So wow. I kind of fell down a little bit of a rabbit hole here. And Frank Welker is this guy's name. And he has been in everything. Oh my God. He's like, He's been like a metric ton of Transformers. Like, he could fill a whole scrapyard with how many Transformers he'd been. He was apparently Kermit in Muppet Babies, Ralph and Runt from Animaniacs, and he is currently doing both Fred from Scooby-Doo. He's been doing since 1969, and he just recently started doing Scooby as well. Like, what? He was Nibbler in Futurama, Bronx and Gargoyles, both Abu and the Cave of Wonders in Aladdin. He was some of the Beagle Boys in the original DuckTales. He was Big Time, which was the little, smart-mouthed one. And he was everybody's favorite cave duck, Bubba. He did the lion roars for the Lion King, which I remember seeing videos of that. There's just this dude growling into a garbage can. And like the behind, so that's him. And my personal favorite is that he's the voice of Mr. Chubbikins from Freakazoid, who is Freakazoid's super fat cat. And he literally just says, meow. Oh, I love Mr. Chubbikins. But in the context of Darkwing Duck, he also voices Eek, Squeak, and Archie. So
he basically has quite a range then, because he does super low voices, but he can also do really high-pitched animal voices.
He's incredible. I mean, he's like a Mel Blanc of current day cartoons. It's like, that sounds like Dr. Claw. And then I was like, and apparently everybody else, Jiminy Crickets. I don't know if he was Jiminy Cricket. I do not endorse that statement. But anyway, yeah, so I was like, okay, all right. Damn, Frank. All right. So that was my little rabbit hole for this episode.
That's impressive. I find like a lot of the actors that later went on to bigger things, they all like had some kind of role in Darkwing. Like if you look at Dan Castellaneta, who did Megavolt, and he's, Homer and Krusty the Clown and all that stuff. And Kath Soucie as Morgana. I think she retired. Well, maybe she didn't. But I feel like she does less stuff, but she went on to do all kinds of other stuff. And then, of course, Jim Cummings is also another one that is, like, in everything you could imagine.
Yeah, like a vocal chameleon. Yeah, I know, like, I'm not, like, super great at voice actors, but there's certain people that I pick up every time. I'm like, oh, that sounds like, and, yeah, I feel like they were very active before Darkwing, because The Simpsons was definitely before Darkwing. And Kath Soucie, is that how you say her name? I don't know how to pronounce anybody's names because I just read them.
Kath Soucie for my research.
And because she was the voice of a whole bunch of Rugrats and stuff like that. She was in a few of the Tim Schafer games because I love him. The LucasArts games. She was in Full Throttle. But yes, anyway, they're all fantastic, and it's one of my favorite things in the world is to watch voice actors reading their lines or doing like, table reads. It's fantastic. I love it. There's a clip of everybody in the studio. I don't know if they're recording or if it's just a read-through of Justice Ducks. It's so good. It's so good. Like, I don't think everybody's there.
I think it was legit.
A lot of them are.
Yeah, and I think it legit was the actual recording that they did for it because it sounded the same. Like, nothing sounded different. It was super cool, like the way that they all sat in the same room together and they had like a voice director who was directing them. Because from my understanding, they don't do that anymore. They all have like their individual little sound booths that they talk in.
Yeah. I think it also depends on the show. Because I know, this is also old at this point because we're old. Like Dr. Katz and home movies. A lot of it is improv, so they record those together so they could feed off each other. So that those I know they're kind of all together, but yeah, for the most part, I think it's individuals in sound booths these days, which I'm sure is a bummer for the actors as well because they don't get that energy from anybody else. But it also, I'm sure, is a lot cheaper, and it doesn't take as much time to record things because you don't have people goofing with each other.
Yeah, and they can do it from home now, which most of them are because of COVID. They have their own studios, and I know one voice actor I follow, Faye Mata. She does like a lot of anime voices, and she's done voices in video games. I was looking at her stuff on YouTube, and she bought like an actual booth. It's like a physical booth that you build and you put in your house so that you can do like pretty much any kind of professional recording. So I think most of them it's probably convenient for them to do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's your bread and butter. Why not? It's like work from home. Just roll into the booth in your living room and have at it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so that's our little segue there on voice acting. Join us for more on our spin-off podcast, Noises and Boxes. So it's not a good name at all. So then we coming back here. So Darkwing is being harassed by the chair people of Macawber Mushrooms Unlimited. Very kind of just aggressively in your face, being like, we're going to eat you, which is a thing, I guess. And then we get introduced. It really does. And then we get introduced to Morgana.
The queen has arrived.
She has. She floats into the scene, and because she's not walking, she's got like that she's Morgana, that Morticia Adams type of thing where she just kind of floats along, looking all pretty. And she introduces herself to Darkwing. It's adorable because his tail is just wiggling. He's so good. His tail is like, he's just completely smitten, and his tail is going a million miles an hour. But then it vanishes completely. Like, I'm watching his tail, and then it was just like, poof, it's gone. I was like, oh my god, must be magic. But then, Darkwing has to introduce himself, and he nails it. He nervous. He doesn't nail it at all. He's like,
nice to meet you, Mr.
Dingwang Darkwing Duck. At your service.
Which is, I think, the most appropriate response for when a beautiful goth woman takes an interest in you.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. And he just completely miladies it and just does the deepest bow in the history of bows to her. And she's very interested in him from the get-go, too. She's like,
What an unusual name. But then you appear to be very unusual. I like that.
And then she was like, we're trying to make sure that, with all these pizza topping robberies going on, that, we're not getting caught off guard. And he's like, but the pizza topping robberies? And she's like, well, I deduced it. And she's just like, he's never gonna buy that. And Darkwing just kind of swoons into screen and goes, she deduced it. He's hopelessly
he was doomed
with her.
He
was doomed from the get-go. And then we have the weird looking pig type lady. She's like the Jekyll and Hyde looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Who's apparently called Lady Janice.
Really?
She proclaims that Morgana's caught herself one chunk of a duck. Okay.
She sure
So yeah, I think Morgana's just kind of like, well, I'll show you around and then I'll show you out. And they get to the porch, and they're still just kind of talking to each other, not really wanting to leave. And he says to her, you've got more fungus in your little finger than most people have in their whole heads. Thanks. Like, she takes it as a compliment, which is all that matters, but also it's like, okay, all right. And the chair people are just hanging. They're not even hanging out the window watching them. They are flat out on the roof, curled around the edge, staring at them. And they're just gonna like get rid of him. And Morgana is watching him leave. And that's when we get at least two of their names. That's when we learn Lady Janice's name. And she's apparently voiced by Cheryl Bernstein, who is also Isis Vanderchill. And then there's Granny, who's just a crazy cave woman-looking lady with a Pebbles Flintstone hairdo. And then I guess, that's what it is. They're on the porch, and Darkwing hears the radio on the rat catcher and his Launchpad asking for help, or screaming for help, more accurately. Darkwing has to run off to go save Launchpad. And Launchpad has gotten himself in quite a pickle. Think about pickle pizza.
Ooh. You know what? I'd try it. I'd try a pickle pizza.
Yeah, right? I guess it depends on the pickle. Anyway, so the green peppers are being taken or stolen by spiders with giant human teeth. It was just not good for anybody. Do we actually see any peppers?
I don't think we do. I was really focused on the fact that Launchpad had like the pencil he was talking into that's like a walkie-talkie. And I feel like that was a concept they used occasionally in the early episodes of the show, but they didn't really stick with it. Because I know Darkwing uses it in like maybe one or two other episodes. Because
Launchpad probably loses it after this.
Fair.
And then they never use it again. So as far as, we didn't really do a lineup. So the chair people that Darkwing ran into in Morgana's house, there was the Lurch guy, who we don't have a name for him. There was Lady Janice, who's the Jekyll and Hyde kind of pig-y woman. Maybe she's a dog nose. I don't know. She's weird is what she is. She's also got like a big bouffant hairdo. And then there's Granny, who's the Pebbles Flintstone knockoff. And then there's a little weird hog-faced man who is named Uncle Nero. And he's this typical one that sounds like Peter Lorre. Mm-hmm. So Peter Lorre is the one that is somehow he was in the house and is just instantly where Launchpad was, which seems unlikely until you remember magic is a thing. So he's there laughing about Launchpad being stuck and that they're going to eat him. And Darkwing shows up and immediately gets captured by the spiders. So now he and Launchpad are in their giant web. And then a Morgana shows up immediately as well. And she says, Darkwing Duck is mine. It's like, you tell him, girl. And she cuts them free with her giant, glorious dragon lady claw nail things, which I don't think we ever see her use again.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah. So again, I think we've definitely mentioned it before. She seems the most self-assured, and competent is a mean word to use, but I'm going to stick to it because it's the only one that I can think of right now.
She's more confident with her abilities, and therefore she can just cast spells without any problems or effort, whereas in the later episodes, she seems to be almost like she has, what's the word? When you're nervous about performance anxiety. It's like she has performance anxiety and she can't cast spells properly and she's making mistakes, and she doesn't do that at all in this episode.
Yeah, she's kind of bumbling later on, but in this one she's got it together. So she slashes them out of the spider web, and Darkwing Duck whips out his gas gun, which he remembers he has sometimes, and gasses the spiders. And Morgana's so cute. She's immediately concerned about the spiders.
Oh, the poor dears.
Huh?
Oh, are you all right?
Oh, here's a girl that doesn't get out enough.
Morgana, what are you doing? That thing's dangerous.
Oh, it is not. It's just an itty-bitty spider. Actually, they're very sweet.
And she's cuddling them.
she's like stroking it, trying to make it feel better after it's just been gassed.
I think that's so also when I take screenshots of Morgana, those scenes, like those stills from that, are probably my favorite of her ever in the show in terms of like her model. I just think she looks amazing there. She looks so pretty.
She does. Oh, it's Darkwing says, Morgana's really something. And Launchpad says, I'll say something different. And she kind of looks over her shoulder, and that's when the bats fly. And we go to our next scene. And it's somebody says in there that it's like, oh, last night. I think it was Darkwing. It's like, oh, last night, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I guess it's the next day. 24 hours have come and gone because it's nighttime again. And Darkwing's like, oh, the poor kid's love struck, talking about Morgana. It's like, yes, she's the one. And Launchpad is just kind of over it at this point. He's flying the Thunderquack, looking absolutely furious. And he tells him, you're a hero, not a Romeo, as he's doing barrel rolls, trying to knock him out of it.
I need you to weigh in on this debate. Is Launchpad jealous, or do you think he's just annoyed because Darkwing is thinking with his other...
Bill.
His Bill, yes.
Is below the belt Bill.
Yes.
I want to say a little bit of both. Because Darkwing is... You know, even if you don't go for, like, the romantic angle of Darkwing and Launchpad... Like, they're best friends, and when your friend is, like, completely, like, loopy about somebody, like, all right already, enough. Like, pay attention to what's happening. We're trying to do something right now. So I could definitely see it being both. But, yeah, he's also, I feel like, super agitated that everything is so creepy. Everything is really scary. Like, he's been scared since the beginning of this episode, and Darkwing isn't even acknowledging how scary everything is, so he's probably frustrated with that too. Like, they were just tied up and people were trying to eat them, and Darkwing's like, wow, she's really great, isn't she?
I love how he's like, yeah.
Oh, God.
Like the way a snake looks at its dinner. Like, wow, Launchpad.
He gets really, really salty the more we get into this episode.
Yes. There's one, I'm sure you're thinking about the same line that he said later. Oh, that one's good. We'll get to it.
It's fantastic. It makes me laugh every time. So, yeah. So, anyway, so Launchpad is doing barrel rolls in the Thunderquack to snap Darkwing out of it. And we see the next in the crimes against pizza toppings, so that a milk truck has been hit by Granny and her giant snake that has the same exact Pebbles Flintstone haircut as she does. That's how you know it's hers. Otherwise, it could have been anybody's giant snake.
That's true.
Yep. And they wind up in the sewers. There's a bit of a fight. I think this might be swan sauce's thing is.
I want to say both swan sauce and duck soup appeared at the same time.
Okay. I don't know, but we're on street level for a bit on this. So if you want to stare at some backgrounds, dear listeners, maybe here. And they have a bit of a fight, but it ultimately ends up where every Darkwing Duck episode I think we've watched, or at least a good chunk of them, ends up in the sewers. There's a lot of traction, a lot of action down in those sewers in St. Canard.
It would seem so.
And it's like, you smell that? It's pizza. Like, you can smell you can smell pizza in the sewers? That's
the power of Calvin Klein.
It is. I feel like at that point you could just call it obsession. Just call it It just smells like pizza, and it's called obsession by Calvin Klein. So they wander into where the mushrooms are being held, which is apparently in the sewers. But the mushrooms don't really look like mushrooms, and they're just kind of in these enclosures that are just made of chain link. And I just seems like it's a health hazard. Someone should probably call, the health inspector down there. I don't know, but they don't look like mushrooms. They're like weird little.
They're like red, right? Like they got pizza topping colors.
Yeah, they kind of look like they have like a pizza on their head, like where the mushroom cap would be. Then they have like little squashy bodies. They do run around. They look more like a bushroot thing than a mushroom. Me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then we get our I am the terror of the episode that Darkwing actually gets to finish. And it's like, I'm the terror that flaps the night. I am the onion that stings in your eyes. Okay. On point. So then we get to hear the evil plan that is the mushrooms taste like pizza with no manufacturing costs. But,
that's a perfectly fine business thing. It's just that they stole all the toppings, really. That is the issue.
Yeah. And it seems like, well, if you steal if this is your business model, is to just steal ingredients from the other, factories that apparently just solely make one thing, that they're going to go out of business, and then what's your business model from there? I don't know.
True.
It doesn't seem like a very well thought out plan, Morgana. Those student loans are not going to get repaid on this one. So, of course, Darkwing and Launchpad So this is when Darkwing and Launchpad are, I think they're chained up next to each other. And Launchpad just looks at Darkwing and says,
GGW, sorry about your girlfriend being a fiendish, blood-sucking creature from the netherworld.
Hey. Nobody's doing any blood-sucking. She's just misguided.
So good.
Because we find out, of course, that Morgana has been working with the chair people all along to steal these pizza toppings.
And Darkwing is still defending her.
Yes. And Launchpad is just completely savage. He's over it! He's like,
Come on, Morgana, you can change. Deep down, you're really not an evil person.
Not an evil person, no, but an evil businesswoman, yes.
Like, yeah, make that money, girl.
She is basically, she's a girl boss.
She is a spooky girl boss, which I think is even cooler. And she says, if you insist on having principles, our relationship is doomed. Yeah, it's probably not the best way to approach it. But then Lady Janice is like, oh, use this lipstick and turn him into your slave. But paints, human lips on her bill, as one does. And says Darkwing. And oh no, Darkwing is now under her control. And he picks up Launchpad, starts acting like he's going to throw him to the mushrooms. And in that scene, she actually says, Darkwing, throw Launchpad to the fungus. It's in my notes. And Launchpad's hat in that scene where he's like carrying him up the ladder to throw him over the chain link fence to the mushrooms. Launchpad's hat is yellow.
I saw that.
There you go.
That was random.
Yeah. So, of course, Darkwing is not under anyone's control but Darkwing's. He was just committing to the act and making Launchpad poop himself. And he immediately turns around and just throws Launchpad at the rest of the chair people. It's like, he's now just a projectile.
I like how Darkwing and Morgana just kind of knew what they were doing here. Like, surely when Morgana kissed him, Darkwing realized he wasn't under her control. So did he realize, was he faking it for her, knowing that she faked, like she was pretending? Or was he just doing that in general as a survival thing? they seemed very in sync. Like they both knew what they were doing, and it wasn't a surprise to him that Morgana helped him.
Yeah. And, once he does throw Launchpad at the other guys, she runs over to them and helps them, helps him get out of his chains, and then they all run off together. So it seems like Darkwing is like, oh, cool, we're working together on this, which I think is the first and last time that Darkwing is like, hey, we're working together with Morgana. Oh, Darkwing. So they scamper off as the weird little pizza mushrooms are sicked after them. But Morgana's house is apparently linked to these sewers because they just kind of run into a room, which I assumed was, some kind of room in the sewers. Maybe like a janitor's closet or a weeping room because you're in a sewer and you need a place to just have a good cry. And it's just her basement. And they just kind of head upstairs and it's just all the parts of the house that we've seen before. I was like, oh, okay. Number one, that would smell terrible. Like, how bad does your basement smell? I guess again, magic.
Calvin Klein.
It's probably fine. It's probably fine. But I don't think I would want a door to the sewers in my basement. And then, Morgana confesses that she didn't want Darkwing to like her because he was a mindless zombie. She's like, I wanted you to stay because of me, not because you were a zombie. And that's very romantic. It's a beautiful thing to say to somebody. So, and ghouls and non-binary, if you got somebody special in your life, you go ahead, you look them right in the eyes, and you tell them that you want them to stay because of you, not because they're a zombie. Unless, of course, you are in a relationship with a zombie, and then you can say, but also, I like that. So anyway, and then they run outside because Darkwing has a brilliant plan to save the day. And when they get outside, it's not storming, and he says, oh, I was counting on there being lightning. And we're kind of just like bored as hell at this point. So she just shoots lightning into the air and starts to storm, and that's like the prime Morgana content right there. Like, this is what we want. She's just, oh, is that all? And just completely blasé about it. She's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. And we wanted more of that.
We love to see a gatekeep girl boss, gaslighter.
That's it. But yeah, so that kind of triggers the events that happen to save the day. So as Darkwing he's got to climb to the roof for his plan, and Launchpad shows up with a bag of butter and dumps it on the mushrooms, and Darkwing gets up on the roof and electrocutes them, doing his best Benjamin Franklin impression. And we don't really know what happens to the mushrooms after that.
They look like they just kind of died.
Yeah, like if there was anything left over, they kind of got cooked. So I feel like Launchpad would probably give a little nibble to see. After the credits roll, he kind of went back and...
You know what? I can't blame him. They kind of looked like they would have tasted good.
And I mean, after all the things that tried to eat him in this episode, it may as well be some sweet, sweet revenge.
Agreed.
Yes. So that takes care of our little monstrous mushrooms. And then there's this part, which is what I want to get your opinion on. So all the board members come out and are making a fuss, and the sun comes up, and they turn into mushrooms. Yes. And Morgana explains it away, saying that it's another unfortunate side effect of whatever they were doing that was, making these mushrooms. So were they ghouls that turned into mushrooms, or were they mushrooms that turned into ghouls?
I think they were ghouls that were spending years, because they mentioned offhand that they spent years working on this. So okay. They were probably researching it, and maybe they were not very ethical and they experimented upon themselves. And that was just one of the side effects that they had to contend with.
Well, okay.
One thing I found kind of weird about the board members is one of them's named Granny, one of them's named Uncle, but they don't actually appear to be her family members. And if they are, she certainly didn't seem to care so much about them turning into mushrooms.
Yeah, because, I mean, there doesn't really seem, with the exception of a few, there doesn't seem to be, like, these characters specifically don't seem to be part of the Macawber line that we see later on.
Yeah,
maybe exactly. Because they die now because they're mushrooms, and nobody seems to, like, take them with them when they leave. Just, do they turn back into ghouls at sundown? Who knows? We'll never know. But yeah, Darkwing after that point is like, well, I have to arrest you. And she's like, no. And just kind of poofs her whole house away in a shower of sparkles. And Launchpad closes out the episode with women. Now you see him, now you don't. Wise man. And that's when we roll credits. That's it. And that's that. There we have it. That's the first, well, it should be the first appearance of Morgana in the series, but it doesn't really seem to air that way. It is her kind of origin episode in the Darkwing universe, though, and a very strong one, a very good episode.
It's probably my favorite Morgana episode because I can't remember if I've ranted about it here. I probably have. Her personality varies with the episode based on what plot they're trying to achieve with the story. If they want there to be more conflict, then they make her more emotional and unreasonable. But this episode, she was obviously meant to be sultry and seductive and mysterious and a very confident businesswoman. So that's how she came across. And that's my favorite version of her, personally.
Yeah, same. I like, how sweet she can be with, the characters and the other ones. Like, I like her relationship with Goslin. Goslin's not in this episode at all, which I feel like is good as far as this story goes, because it's a very tightly told story. Like, there really isn't, in comparison to Bad Tidings, like, just the bickering is 90% of the episode. Like this one, there was like, we're going to tell this story and these are all the points that we need to hit. There's not a lot of downtime to play with, but Goslin, I think, probably would have changed the feeling of this episode, and I'm okay with her not being in it.
I think it might also be because Darkwing was so head over heels for Morgana, and maybe they thought it would be kind of awkward to have Goz there just like watching her dad like be a simp, essentially.
But yeah, it's a good one, and I do love her relationship with Goslin in the episodes that they are in together. They're really sweet because Goslin is just super excited by everything that Morgana does. Kind of doesn't really matter how mundane it is or what her intentions are when she's trying to do a thing. But yeah, I like that. I like them together.
Yeah, Goz is like, she's never really demonstrated any kind of jealousy or fear of losing attention from Darkwing. She's very, she's very confident and secure and just doesn't seem to be concerned with that kind of stuff. And she's actually the driving force behind a lot of when Morgana is like Justice Ducks, she's completely unsure if Darkwing still likes her. It's Goslin that's like, come on, I'll show you that he still likes you. Or, My Valentine Ghoul, that whole plot was her making a love potion to fix their relationship. So she doesn't seem to have any concerns with that. Like, she's completely happy that Darkwing's got this hot goth girlfriend. And you know what? Good for Darkwing, because I think we can all stand to have a beautiful goth girlfriend.
Yep. Yeah, good for Darkwing. Only good for Darkwing if he treats her right, though. Because he Not in this one, but in the other ones, he can be kind of a dick. Although she was a little bit, if you will, batty. So, but yeah, we don't get to meet Eek, Squeak, and Archie in this one either, who are wonderful. But yeah, so as far as our first exposure to Morgana, she is definitely top 5 favorite characters in this show. So let's rate it. So out of, you want to do Quackerware Freshness scale, or you want to switch it up and do bats? 5 bats out of 5 bats.
Yeah, I could do some bats.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a whole herd of bats. I don't know if they're called herds.
A swarm, I think?
Flock, a swarm? Well, whatever it may be, I will give a large one because the animation is fantastic. The story is pretty tight, like you said, and pretty straightforward. They don't waste any time. The characters are all playing like a good role, and there aren't too many characters. It's like they balanced it so that it wasn't overstuffed. And Morgana is A+. So, yeah, I give it like full bats.
Full on bats. I would have to agree. I would say that it is 1,100 flaps out of 10 and would watch again. So there we have it, everybody. We got to meet Morgana today, and she is a sassy, sexy lady. And Darkwing should have been nicer to her in the other episodes, but he was definitely riding the respect Morgana train in this one, so we appreciate that.
He was completely smitten by her, and it was very cute.
Yes. And we got to see his tail wiggle over it, which is always great.
They gifted us with a tail wiggle, because I don't think we see that anywhere else in the series that I can recall.
His best quality is his wiggles.
It is so cute. Like, I would like to recreate that tail wiggle at some point in time, because I feel like there needs to be more tail wiggling. I don't know.
And I don't feel like, well, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to be closer, pay closer attention to it. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like, and you'll know for sure if I say it, I feel like Negaduck's tail wiggles at some point.
No,
not like when it's skulls for Negaduck. No, do you not? No, maybe I'm just wishful thinking.
He licks his lips like he's ready to eat a bunch of skulls, but I promise you, if there was a Negaduck tail wiggle anywhere in this show, I would know.
That's what I'm saying. Like I know you would know immediately. So, all right. So we have still our spooky episodes queued up here on our wheel to spin. So let's take a look. I think we may have added one. We added Dead Duck because I don't think it was on it originally, but it's a spooky-ish one, so we may as well. So let's click it. You want to make any more predictions?
I am going to predict Twin Beaks this time.
Okay. Let's see. Spinning. Uh-oh. It is The Haunting of Mr. Banana Brain.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. It's got Paddywhack in it. That is a spooky episode. But I will have you know that the little tile right next to this one was Twin Beaks. You almost had it again. But next time we will be delving into the madness that is The Haunting of Mr. Banana Brain.
I like that episode too. Most of these episodes, these spooky ones, are all pretty good episodes in their own right.
Yeah, I think I like all of them. So, well, the exception of Twin Beaks. Twin Beaks, I have to be in the mood for.
You need a little ambiance music, a little low lighting.
I need some cherry pie and a damn fine cup of coffee is what I need. Alrighty, so we will catch you later, guys. We will check in next time where everything will be spooky. And until then, remember that crime doesn't sleep and neither do we.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.